In discussing the large-scale structure of the cosmos, astronomers sometimes say that space is curved, or that the universe is finite but unbounded. Whatever are they talking about? Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean absolutely flat. And that we live, appropriately enough, in flatland. A land designed and named by Edwin Abbott, a Shakespearean scholar who lived in Victorian England. Everybody in flatland is, of course, exceptionally flat. We have squares, circles, triangles, and we all scurry about, and we can go into our houses and do our flat business. Now, we have width and length, but no height at all. Now, these little cutouts have some little height, but let's ignore that. Let's imagine that these are absolutely flat.
Do electrons think? Electrons are charged particles. The minutest we find analyzing mountains of altitude.
Section through him can be seen. So when the three-dimensional creature first reaches flatland, it's only the points of contact which can be seen, and we'll represent that by stamping the apple in this ink pad and placing that image in flatland. And as the apple were to descend through, slither by flatland, we would progressively see higher and higher slices, which we can represent by the apple. So the square, as time goes on,
now what does physics
a set of objects mysteriously
The situation
appear
is
from
peculiar.
nowhere. And
From the earliest beginnings of physical science, we meet with a firm conviction that everything that happens is governed by inviolable laws, so that the course of events forms an inevitable and unalterable infinite sequence of causes and effects. The first atomic physicist was Euclides, a contemporary of Socrates in the 5th century BC. Of Euclides, only two sayings are preserved. One, that he refused to believe that sun, moon, and stars are living beings. And the other, which concerns us here, is that nothing comes to pass without a cause, but everything happens by reason and of necessity. This he maintained in the 5th century BC, and towards the end of the 19th century AD, physicists were fully prepared to endorse his opinion. But now comes the peculiar thing. Twice, within 2,500 years, there was a notable departure from the belief in the strict necessity of physical events. The first time this happened only about 150 years after Euclides. We gather this from the didactic poem of Lucretius, who was the posthumous mouthpiece of Epicurus, who lived in the 4th century BC. causal linkage in the chain of physical happenings was thrown into doubt was only 30 years ago by Franz Exner in Vienna. About 10 years later, that is about 20 years ago from today, the disbelief in strict causation became part and parcel of what you might call the new creed now adopted by most physicists and called quantum mechanics. Both times, the alleged breakdown of strict causality in the domain of physics was hailed for removing the obstacle in our understanding the spontaneity of the movements of the animals and of man. In understanding free will, as one usually calls it. Let us see whether this claim is justified. The hypothesis, as reported by Lucretius, was very simple indeed. He just states that the atoms do swerve in a very small but entirely undetermined and unforeseeable way from the courses you would expect them to take from supposed strict physical laws. No theory of the swerves is offered. This amounts to saying that the strict laws are only figments. The actual path of a particle is to a small extent arbitrary in the neighborhood of the fictitiously prescribed path. It is not illogical to surmise that the several little arbitrarinesses of the single atoms collaborate to bring about the apparent arbitrariness in the behavior of the animals and of man. What Lucretius forgets is that he has explained nothing